Most tunnels are simply functional pieces of infrastructure to help commuters get to their destination. While even the most basic tunnels involve a feat of engineering, some go above and beyond to create an amazing sensory experience. From deep-sea trains to psychedelic subways, we are exploring 12 tunnels that will blow your mind. The Marmaray Tunnel is a 13.6-kilometer tunnel, partially running under the Bosphorus Strait and connecting the existing train systems on Istanbul's European and Asian sides. This public transportation project, inaugurated in October 2013, is another attempt to ease the notoriously manic Istanbul traffic by offering people an alternative on rails. Around 12 million people travel into and through the city of Istanbul every day, and the Marmaray project provides mass transit for the city's population. The construction of a railway tunnel underneath the Bosphorus Strait dates back to 1860, when Sultan Abdulmajid I first proposed an undersea crossing of the strait. The project was brought up again in 1892 under Abdulhamid II, when French engineers drew up a plan for such a tunnel. The plan, however, was never realized. But starting in 1997, the Turkish government decided to link the two continents in earnest. More than 10 years later, the tunnel was unveiled. Now, for the price of a metro ticket, citizens and tourists alike can travel through endless miles of tunnel and hop between hemispheres. The new Gotthard-based tunnel is the longest rail tunnel in the world at 57 kilometers and is emblematic of Switzerland's pioneering spirit. Depending on traffic, it takes anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes just to pass from one side to the other. To cut construction time in half, 4 access tunnels were built so that construction could start at 4 different sites simultaneously. 9 workers lost their lives during construction, but the project was considered ambitious by most established construction firms, and the deaths did not come as a total surprise. Several workers were killed by falling rocks, others were struck by test trains, and one died after falling from scaffolding. After the opening of the tunnel, there was an increase of passenger crossing the Transalpine line, with 2.3 million passengers in the first 8 months, an increase of 30% over the previous year. As of August 2017, an average of 10,400 people crossed the tunnel daily. Train services from Italy to Switzerland through the line are expected to become faster from 2020, with the opening of the Senary base tunnel and an expected further increase in passenger numbers. The Channel Tunnel, nicknamed the Channel, is a 31-mile passageway linking England and France. Traveling between the English Strait, it's the only fixed link between the island of Great Britain and the European mainland. At its lowest point, it's 75 meters beneath the seabed and 115 meters below sea level. At 23.5 miles, the tunnel has the longest undersea portion of any tunnel in the world. It was recognized as one of the 7 wonders of the modern world by the American Society of Civil Engineers, alongside the Empire State Building, the Itaipu Dam in South America, the CN Tower in Toronto, the Panama Canal, the North Sea Protection Works in the Netherlands, and the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. At the height of construction, 13,000 people were employed. 10 workers, 8 of them British, were killed building the tunnel. 11 boring machines were used to dig the tunnel. Together, they weighed a total of 12,000 tons, while each was as long as 2 football fields. One from the British side remains buried under the channel. Another was sold on eBay for £39,999 in 2004. In June 1992, the Norwegian Parliament decided to construct the world's longest road tunnel. The 24.5-kilometer stretch of tunnel stretches between Arland and Lardal on the new main highway connecting Oslo and Bergen. As you can imagine, road conditions can be poor during the Norwegian winter. So despite the massive associated cost, the Norwegian government decided to move forward with the project. Opening in 2000, it cost about $113 million to construct. There are over 900 road tunnels in Norway, with total length exceeding 750 kilometers, and at least 33 undersea tunnels. But in a country with deadly winters, it pays to go underground. One of the challenges faced by the engineers was how to keep drivers alert through the 20-minute-long monotonous drive. This was essential, or the drivers could lose concentration, leading to accidents. To break the monotony, occasional slight curves were included between straight stretches of road, and large caverns are spaced at 6-kilometer intervals. Another concern is ventilation. High air quality in the tunnel is achieved in 2 ways, by ventilation and purification. Large fans draw air in from both entrances, and polluted air is expelled through a single ventilation tunnel located 18 kilometers from the Arland end of the tunnel. The Lærdal Tunnel is the first in the world to be equipped with an air treatment plant, located in a 100-meter cavern 9.5 kilometers from Arland that removes both dust and nitrogen dioxide from the tunnel air. The Tokyo Bay Aqua Line is a toll highway that spans the narrowest gap of Tokyo Bay, opened to traffic in December 1997 after 31 years of studies and construction, at a total cost of 1.44 trillion yen. With an overall length of 23.7 kilometers, it includes a 4.4-kilometer bridge and 9.6-kilometer tunnel underneath the bay, the 4th longest underwater tunnel in the world. Engineers had to overcome a vast variety of challenges, ranging from the soft soil of the seafloor to natural conditions such as wind, tide, and earthquakes, as well as marine traffic and environmental conservation in Tokyo Bay. The tunnel reduced the drive from Chiba Prefecture to the mainland from 90 minutes down to 15. Once sequestered from the rest of Japan, Chiba is now fully incorporated into the Tokyo municipality. However, the tunnel is not commonly used for commuting because a single-use toll costs almost $30. The Eisenhower Edwin C. Johnson Memorial Tunnel is one of the highest vehicular tunnels in the world at 11,158 feet above the sea level. It's located in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado. The tunnel is the longest mountain tunnel and highest point on the interstate highway system. With the completion of the second bore in 1979, it was one of the last major pieces of the interstate system to be completed. The approach grades are steep, being 7% on the west approach and 6% on the east approach. Building the tunnels through the Continental Divide was tough. 7 workers died during construction, and many dozens suffered amputations or other life-changing injuries. The air quality is monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in a control room by 2 or 3 tunnel employees at all times. The tunnel connects Denver with most of the major ski destinations in the area, meaning it stays busy throughout the winter. An estimated 10 million vehicles pass through the tunnel every year. The tunnel is just shy of 2 miles long. The Drammen Spiral, or Spiral Tunnel, is located in the city of Drammen, about an hour outside of Oslo. The tunnel is 1,650 meters long and was built in the shape of a helix, with 6 rising circles, in the same style as a multi-story parking lot. Each rotation of the helix rises 73 feet, covering a diameter of 230 feet. The tunnel emerges at a summit 600 feet above the town on Skansen Ridge, where there are parking facilities and a cafe. At the entrance of the tunnel, there's a natural area where visitors can walk around and take in the sights and sounds of rural Norway. The tunnel was proposed after concern was raised that quarrying was beginning to disfigure the local landscape. The community decided to tunnel for stone as an alternative, creating a tourist attraction as a byproduct. Construction started in 1953 upon closure of the quarries. The village of Guoliang has always been isolated from the rest of the world. High in the Taihang Mountains of the Henan province, the only access to civilization were some steep, narrow stairs embedded in the mountainside called the Sky Ladder, a treacherous, slippery climb even for the most nimble and sure-footed of the villagers or their rare company callers. Selling their animals and other necessities for supplies, the people of Guoliang set down 13 of their strongest workers. The team of men, not an engineer among them, set about carving a roadway inch by inch, using nothing but hand tools, patience, and determination. In 1977, 5 years after beginning their colossal undertaking, the villagers had managed to dig out a tunnel that was 1 mile long, 16 feet tall, and 13 feet wide. During that time, they used more than 12 tons of drill rods and 4,000 hammers. It was made to be wide enough to fit a compact car and is still in use to this day. Malaysia's capital of Kuala Lumpur is regularly subjected to flash floods after heavy rains that remain for 3 to 6 hours, flooding the city center. After a series of devastating flash floods washed the heart of Kuala Lumpur city center and accumulated losses rose to billions of dollars, the government approved a never-before-attempted concept to tackle the crippling floods and snarling traffic jams that plague the southern gateway of the city: a SMART tunnel. SMART is an acronym for Stormwater Management and Road Tunnel, a project under the federal government initiated to alleviate the flooding problem in the city center of Kuala Lumpur. The 13.2-meter diameter tunnel consists of a 9.7-kilometer stormwater bypass tunnel, with a 4-kilometer dual-deck motorway within the stormwater tunnel. SMART opened to traffic on May 14, 2007, after 4 years of construction. The cost of the project was around approximately $514 million. The tunnel handles 30,000 cars per day and has been used 44 times to divert floodwater. The Tunnel of Love is located between Klevon and the village of Orshiv on the Kovel-Rivne line, a distance of 7 kilometers. Near Orshiv, the line splits into 2. One leads to Klevon and the other leads to a secret military base from the Cold War era, hidden in the forest. Back in those days, the trees were deliberately planted alongside the track to conceal the transport of military hardware. Now the 5-kilometer tunnel is painstakingly manicured in order to make a romantic path for lovers to stroll along. Apparently, the tunnel is hugely popular in Ukraine. Couples and newlyweds often have photo shoots here. Sometimes the tourists are a problem for the train operators and they have to keep a sharp eye on the track. Last year, a 38-year-old Japanese woman was struck by the train, fracturing her hip, but it was an isolated incident. The tunnel has no official protection nor any guardian, but a few years ago, the factory cut down several trees to aid passage of the train, and there was a huge outcry. The factory hasn't touched a tree since then. When Zion National Park was established, first as Munkuntuwiap National Monument in 1909 and then officially as Zion National Park in 1919, there was just one problem. People had to get there. It was remote, and the trip to Zion required traveling along old rugged wagon roads. By 1917, automobiles were able to roughly reach Zion Canyon, but there had to be a better way. Construction of the Zion Mount Carmel Tunnel began in 1927, with the goal of providing access to the east side of Zion National Park, as well as creating easier access to Bryce Canyon and the Grand Canyon. This revolutionary construction project to create the longest non-urban tunnel in the U.S. at the time was one of the greatest engineering feats of the day. The task was undertaken by the Nevada Construction Company, which used mining methods rather than traditional tunneling procedures to create the Zion Mount Carmel Tunnel. It took 3 years to complete the project at a cost of nearly $2 million, about $26 million today. The tunnel was dedicated on July 4, 1930. The tunnel is still open and is a major element of the Zion Mount Carmel Scenic Highway, which hosts millions of visitors every year. When trying to cross the Huangpu River in Shanghai's bustling Bund district, you can either hop on an inexpensive metro car, or you can take a psychedelic trip through the Bund Sightseeing Tunnel. Located under the iconic Oriental Pearl Tower, the tunnel was built to be one of the Bund's major tourist attractions, and still manages to draw large numbers of travelers despite costing more than 10 times as much as the metro, although riders do get a rather mind-blowing, if dated, experience. After hopping into a small futuristic railcar, riders are leisurely carried through a tunnel which is covered in pulsing, strobing lights that attempt to simulate flight through some acid-soaked version of space. The bombardment of flashing lights and colors is accompanied by a rather ominous soundtrack, punctuated by an occasional intonation of English words, such as shining star and hell. It's unclear whether the ride is trying to evoke wonder or terror, but both reactions seem appropriate. Though the tunnel is only 650 meters long, it makes for an extremely memorable experience.